All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We are here in Far Hills, New Jersey today at Between the Ears with Karianne and Bill Anthes. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to have you. So, first ever repeat guest.
Yeah.
That's like never happened before.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like being a like a first time.
Like every few months, you pop back up. Maybe,
yeah, with like a new business.
New thing you're doing. Just kind of like check in, see how you're doing. But Bill, like this is the first time. I'm surprised that we haven't actually met before this, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been over at Motown for a bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why.
That's probably why.
Yeah, it's not personal.
No,
It's me, not you.
Yeah, but you did invite me here, so it must not be personal. So because we already know Kay a little bit, and we're going to get a little bit of backstory on you, I do want to learn a little bit more about you, because I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but I did my homework. So let's kind of go through like the background prior to getting into the fitness industry.
Sure.
What were some things that you were getting involved in?
I mean, I was an athlete my whole life.
Okay.
So it's kind of impossible to remove like the fitness component of my life away, just because I played soccer at a very high level as a youth, throughout college.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Montclair State.
Oh, I went to TCNJ.
Really?
Yeah.
What years?
I graduated in 2012.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I was 07.
Yeah, so you're like way older than me.
Well, yeah, well, you know. But yeah, so went to Montclair State, majored in accounting, played soccer, had a very good career there. Went to Price Waterhouse afterwards.
Okay.
Realized at that age and that stage of life, like this is not the direction for my life. So I quit after about 2 years and enlisted into the Army.
Okay.
At 25, wanted to become a Green Beret. So 6 months in, was standing in formation at Special Forces selection. Was fortunate to be selected, go through the pipeline to become a Green Beret. Did so, and then spent the rest of my time at 5th Special Forces Group down at Fort Campbell, and then left the military to move back home to be with family, because I was literally never here, and they're the most important thing to me. So
yeah. What was like the reasoning behind going from Price Waterhouse to the military? What made you take that jump?
So Price Waterhouse was a kind of distraction in many ways. I always wanted to be like a commando. Like I grew up reading books about commandos and samurais and ninjas, and whenever I was training in my sport, in soccer, I never had that goal or that vision of being a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
That wasn't what drove me. What drove me was being a professional soldier. And so...
Did that stem from anything? Like, was like as a kid, were you just like into like karate movies and stuff? Is that like the samurai thing?
I don't
know if that's the same, karate and samurais. I would imagine not.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know
either.
Samurais will chop you up with their sword.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, both my grandfathers were in the military.
Okay.
They were Navy and Air Force, and it wasn't like we weren't like a huge military family. My father's generation, nobody served in that Vietnam era. Kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. My older brother, he went into the Air Force. He wanted to be a pilot. We grew up like under the flight line in by Newark Airport. So like every plane, whatever. And so that was like always a component. Like the military was always a component. And then 9/11 happened, and that solidified pretty much. It did a lot for me personally, but it was this thing of there needs to be this higher kind of calling, and that probably I didn't realize really how much that affected me until probably recently, but that kind of definitely drove my desire to continue. I was 16 when that happened.
Yeah.
So.
And so, I mean, does performing at a high level in collegiate athletics and then getting into the military, like the Green Beret stuff, was it kind of just like you wanted to be like a high achieving military member and just not be like a I don't know what the other ones would be, just like a regular schmo in the
Yeah,
military.
I mean-
not a schmo. I don't mean to say it like
No,
that. That's the wrong way to say it.
So there's a bit of an ego, there's a bit of an attitude, and there's a bit of ignorance when it comes to that. And I was 25 going in, or college, and so typically if you have college education, you normally go the officer route. Okay. I was not interested in doing that. I wanted to go in the enlisted side, and I wanted to go into special operations, so Rangers or Green Berets in the Army. And if I'm being honest, there was definitely a component where it's like, I think I'm better than just going in as a grunt and being an infantryman and whatever. And I don't like the way that sounds, but there's truth, but it's true.
Yeah, well, it's like a attitude kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'm like the best podcaster in the world. Whether or not that's true is totally different. But we're figuring it out.
Yeah. And, I also learned early on in my military career that I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
You can curse.
I didn't
It's a
know.
New Jersey focused show. Yeah, it's always funny too. Like everyone like curses, and then they're like,
Oh, no.
"Oh shit! Like
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that."
Sorry, I'll try to keep it relatively.
No, it's okay.
consistent.
We've had people just let loose, but
Yeah.
whatever you want to do
to prove the point.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, there was that thing of, and I never like and to this day when I work in the veteran space and do a lot of stuff there, and I vehemently despise the hierarchy and the looking down upon non-special operations soldiers, because frankly, without that, none of the cool, sexy, cool guy stuff would be able to happen. And just because somebody's not in a special operations unit doesn't mean they couldn't be there. They might just choose not to be there, and it doesn't mean that just because you're in this high-speed unit that you're necessarily better than others. Yes, you're more trained, and yes, we do a lot of different things, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is the Hollywoodisms of the military. That's a sliver of the military, and there's a lot of men and women who have done amazing things, who have laid down their lives and never were part of sexy units.
Right. Yeah. And it's all important, like you said, because like to make that kind of sacrifice is like next level, can't even imagine type of thing.
Yeah.
Like it makes like what, like I'm doing here seem just kind of like insignificant almost.
Well, it's not though.
Yeah. But telling the stories is important too.
For sure.
Which is another thing that we got to talk about after, because I had this idea, but that's a different thing. So you go through your military career, you get out of the military to spend more time with family.
Yeah.
Is that about the time that like the fitness industry stuff starts? Or is there like a
No,
gap?
I mean, I came out, I was always, so CrossFit was a life-changing experience for me. I learned about it, prior to 2010. That's when I enlisted into the military. Met my wife at her gym, walked in, and, the fitness component was always there. I was always active. I was always training. I was always, preparing my body and mind for whatever unknown challenges I might face. And so CrossFit really nested very well with that pursuit. And CrossFit also embodied this sense of normalcy in real life, that I would just immerse myself in learning the methodology, coaching, watching videos. It's 14 years ago, the amount of media available was less than certainly what it is now.
Yeah.
And I always was like, oh man, that would be so awesome to, be sort of in that world, but frankly, being in the military, I couldn't be in both. And so, I was always a student of the methodology, a student of the approach, and then when I finally got out of the military, then I started like actually coaching.
Okay.
And doing all of that. So,
Yeah.
But it was always there. It just was kind of an undercurrent.
Yeah, an underlying current.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're coaching, but then there's like, I would imagine, and you guys can both tell me if I'm wrong, that just coaching and owning your own business in this world are two like basically totally different things.
Yeah. I mean, you were helping with the business and running the business and sort of jumped into that role, and certainly we partnered together for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you had started this idea of Between the Ears while you were in the military. The concept of the mindset, pairing movement with like how you were getting through and having success in the military space was sort of this idea, this between the ears, and that was something that was really important when you got out to pursue.
Yeah, there's a famous CrossFit quote that the greatest adaptation that happens in CrossFit occurs between your ears. And when I heard that, this was before I ever took a real CrossFit class. I just heard it on like, one of the media bits that they put out. I was like, that's exactly, that wraps up sort of like my life, my passions, what I want to do, what I believe. And so I gravitated towards that. I was in the Q course still, I think, actually, and was talking to Kay and was like, I want to share some of these situations, some of these experiences, some of these training modalities and events, not in a yell in your face, kind of, mess you up, just kind of blast you with yelling and obscenities and water and stuff like that, but things that are really challenging for people, and I want to present that to them in a manner that they can do, and they don't have to, they can include that in their life. They don't have to remove themselves from their life and join the military to experience it.
Right.
And so I started to kind of play around with, just different workouts, different things that kind of went against the grain. At the time, of course, one of the benefits with CrossFit is that you can measure intensity, but I found there to be a whole other side of benefit when you don't measure anything and you just be with yourself. And so while I was still in, and I would of course use this to inform my own pursuits and my own training, and found that to be very effective when it got, middle of the night, tired, got to go long, heavy, hard, all that kind of stuff. And so then finally, once I got out, I was like, she encouraged me for sure to start it and to say, hey, have an event, see if somebody shows up, and sure enough, people did. And
what was the first event?
The first event was funny. It was a water bucket evolution. We met over at, it was Dumont and Bank Street at the time in Morristown. And people showed up, and I don't think anybody had any idea what it was. So I think some people thought it was like a drinking event.
I would have showed up.
Someone came with khakis on.
Someone came with khakis.
And Bill's like, you're going to need some shorts.
Do you have any shorts? They're like, do I need them? I'm like, yeah. And so it was like a 2-hour thing on, from 10 p.m. to midnight-ish on a Friday night. And there was also like the bar scene getting out. Yeah. Which there may have been a couple verbal
People
back
in
and
Morristown
forth.
love to see all the crazy shit.
We're
that
walking,
happens,
I had people start at Dumont, and there was a medicine ball hill bucket water situation over on Ann Street. And this group of 12 people are walking with med balls back, and of course it's like, what are you doing, and all of that. So that was the first one, and certainly had
evolved from there.
It evolved from there. But it was fun. It was cool.
That's good.
It just was kind of like an invitation to see, hey, is anybody interested in this? And people showed up, and I know for a fact, actually, I didn't. I said I was going to charge people. I didn't even charge them because I was just so grateful that people showed up. Like, they gave me a gift in saying, hey, I'm interested. Yeah. And that was way more than the, $40 or $50 I could have gotten from it.
Yeah. Well, it kind of gives you like that, the validation almost that like whatever it is that you are working on at that time could be something. Yeah. And then kind of running with that and then evolving it into what it is now, which is a perfect segue. So we're going to take our first break of this episode. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We're here at Between the Ears with Karianne and Bill Anthes in Far Hills, New Jersey. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, Mike Ham here. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Karianne and Bill Anthes of Between the Ears in Far Hills, New Jersey. To learn more about the show, myself, or to listen to all of our other great episodes, make sure to head to greetingsfromthegardenstate.com. And if you like what you hear, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite listening platform. Now, back to the show. All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here in Far Hills, New Jersey today at Between the Ears with Karianne and Bill Anthes. So we learned your backstory and kind of how the Between the Ears started with that first ever event with the guy in khakis and drunk people yelling at you. That's just makes me laugh. I love that, because I would probably be the one that was like, the fuck you doing? It's like 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. You're carrying a medicine ball around town.
You might have been the person.
I might have been. It's entirely possible. I wouldn't remember. But let's talk about exactly, like, define what between the ears actually is, and then we'll like work to unpack it over the course of this segment. I
have no definition for between the ears.
Okay.
We've been doing this for, I don't know how many years. We'll just say six years or so. And what we've kind of come to realize is that between the ears is kind of everything and nothing at the same time, because it's not a manual, it's not a system, it's not like you do this and then you do that and then you do the next thing. It's very much like a mirror and window situation, like a two-way mirror, one of those things where the experiences and our approach provides a reflection for whoever's looking into it. And what they're going to see or what they're going to be presented with is going to be unique to the contour of their face and whatever you look at when you look at a mirror. But it also allows them to see through that into themselves as well, a little bit deeper. So for a pitch standpoint, between the ears is an approach to training physical, mental, and emotional fitness. How we do that, we use the body and different, years of experience as far as fitness, as far as certainly some military stuff, therapy and mental health components, and we kind of make this, we expose the intersection that exists, and really it's just one and the same of body and mind, spirit kind of deal. And it's amazing because to someone who says, someone can look at what we do with between the ear stuff and they can say, that's too hard, I can never do that. And that's just the reflection back at them. And someone else could look at that and say, that's too easy. Their approach is too easy. And it's not our approach. It's the reflection you see in yourself when you look at that. So
it's kind of like tailored to a person to make sure that they're getting out of it what they need to get out of it.
Yeah. It's an experience to learn about yourself.
Right.
And so if you're not curious, if you're not a student, if you are curious, if you're courageous to go into something that you've never experienced or is new or might hit you a little bit differently and kind of make you pause and question, if you're the latter, between the ears is certainly for you. And
the approach from the gym, I mean, we're at Between the Ears Fitness, the actual gym. So we have people that come here to seek fitness. A lot of our clients are people that have done, like some of them are people that have done other things, have done CrossFit for a long time, are sort of looking for not necessarily what's next, but something a little different approach. Some of the people are folks that really haven't ever connected with fitness. It's been too much, not the right fit. So the spectrum, it is a pretty big spectrum, but we do ask people to do a little self-assessment. So instead of when people come in, it's just always, hey, we're going to tell you what to do. You are asking people that they have to have some connection with themselves. So even at the fitness level, we're still asking that person to have some agency. We're guiding them, we're coaching them, of course. And they're not just coming up with things on their own, but you do have to be willing to be honest with yourself, to look into that mirror here. Whereas I think how that's different, other fitness modalities, you're kind of just showing up and then you're just on that ride,
right?
Whatever it is. And then between the ears as a bigger, as you look at other opportunities, we have online courses, events, we still do trainings. They can certainly pull away from traditional fitness more into, we're still moving, but we're using the body and moving to gain access to, what's happening in our emotional state, our mental state. And that, I think, is super unique.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a spectrum.
Right. No, I like that. And so, I guess what my question was going to be, and I think that kind of answered it, how does someone know that they're ready for something like this? You know what I mean? Because I think, for me, when we did our episode together, and I've told this story a bunch of times, and I'm just going to tell it now because it's my show, and I'll do whatever I want. So, when we recorded, I was probably at, not my least in shape ever, but pretty fucking close.
Right.
And I was I remember we were sitting there recording. I don't know if you could tell, I was sweating, but we were just sitting there. And I remember thinking, talking to you, and I was like, you're such a piece of shit. You got to get
me or you?
No, me.
Oh, okay.
What are you doing? making me
what did
feel
I
like
say?
that. Yeah, right. But I just like, that was like the moment that I kind of just like needed. I was like, I need to do something different.
You had like a trigger, like, I'm doing this. I'm just
coming to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
You know, stop being a loser and like, let's go. But I just like, that's kind of how I figured it out.
Yeah.
But so I guess that kind of like leads me to my question for here is like, how does someone know that they're ready for like all of that? You know, because sometimes you have someone, I'm not saying that I'm like a fitness freak, I am not, but that was like the motivation that I needed to get going. But not everybody has that and take it to the next level with all the other stuff that you guys are doing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if someone's curious, and the curiosity comes from a place of they think there's a little bit deeper access they can tap into. Certainly, any number of fitness modalities can get you better, and so we're certainly not saying that will get you to be, you know, winning the Olympics and the marathon while also being an Olympic weightlifter, while also, you know, like, that's not what we're saying. But if something within you is perhaps whispering to you that they're there and you'd like to access it, we can show you the way.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it is so tough because, as I said, we've had a couple of clients who just like nothing else really worked for them. They really don't enjoy fitness, but I think that approach of, regardless of if you're still looking at, you know, they go home and they're like, oh, I really enjoyed that, I want to come back. That's because the approach was tapped into something that had them leaving feeling good.
Yeah.
Not just an endorphin high. And that's kind of a tangent, but that's sort of a little bit of a pitfall, I think, in the fitness industry, is people rely on that endorphin high, but what's it doing to your actual system? And so we kind of work with the nervous system, because it's not just about, do you feel that high for 5 minutes when you're done? It's, well, what does it feel like tomorrow and the next day and so on? But Bill also, he didn't mention this in his background, but he just finished his master's in social work, and has been a student of therapeutic modalities in the mind and psychology for a long time on his own. But, and not to say that that's what's being done here, but there's a lot of understanding what's happening in the mind, in the body. You know, mind-body connection is like a silly thing.
Yeah.
Because it's all, it's inherent.
I think and this might mean different things to different people, but between the ears fitness certainly is trauma informed. And from a therapeutic standpoint, that comes with a certain gravity of like what that means. And so the thing with trauma is that it's not just concepts and thoughts. Trauma is a physiological response to an unbearable situation, and typically it affects everybody. Like, it's not
nobody can escape that kind of stuff.
No, not at all. And it doesn't mean that it's necessarily malice driven or anything. It's this overwhelming experience that you have to deal with alone, and you don't have the resources to do it at that time. And trauma is stored in the body. There's not like you don't think your way out of it. So from a fitness modality and approach, we look at the nervous system to inform the different states, which is also going to be influenced by whatever previous traumatic experiences someone has and either is aware of or even not aware of. So to say it's trauma-informed fitness means we understand that there's things that happened in the past that are informing the present, and while we might not rewind to go back and unball that sort of thing, we're going to address today with the understanding that, hey, you're coming from a place of whatever it might be, and the nervous system is influential in your mental health as well as your physical health, and so we're going to work, with you versus against you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe like take me through if. Like I'm a first timer, like I reach out, I say, hey, like I think this is for me. Kind of like what are the first few steps that you take these people through to make sure that they get off on the right foot and kind of start, rowing the boat in the right direction at some point.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing we're going to do is have a conversation and just get to know a little bit more about you. And what are you interested in? Because this gym, if you want to train like a professional athlete, you can train here.
Yeah,
we've got every piece of equipment you can imagine. But if you're new to fitness, it doesn't mean that you need to train like a professional athlete, or if you're just looking to improve yourself. So we're going to have a conversation. We're going to get to know, what are your goals? What are you looking for? How does fitness support your life outside of the gym? And we're going to put you in the driver's seat through our ability to coach and guide and all of that. And we'll set up a plan. We'll set up a little bit of a structure to say, hey, generally speaking, these are the 3 to 5 workouts a week that would be helpful to support your goals, to improve your body, to learn what it's like to work with yourself. A lot of people, unfortunately, with fitness, it's like a self-licking ice cream cone, and what happens is people crush themselves, and then they think I'm not fit enough, and that workout showed it to me because I was out of breath and I was tired. I need to go back and I need to crush myself, and it's just this downward spiral. And the fitness industry feeds scarcity very, very well, and there's a component to that we're fighting against, scarcity-driven fitness.
Yeah, and so after that conversation and finding out the person's goals, we have different types of workouts we implement here. So whereas CrossFit is like a specific type of workout, that style of workout might be one of them, but then there's also other types of workout. There's like more strength-based workouts, there's sleds, there's cardio. So depending on that person's goals, there might be some that fit better, like, hey, this is kind of the ones we want to prioritize. And then when they come in, that sort of, we have a self-assessment we have created that sort of helps someone. It's not an absolute by any means, but it helps with a few questions to sort of identify where they're at physically, mentally, emotionally that day. And there's going to be certain workouts that might align better than others. So that is what's unique here is that person, if you come in and you're new and you're coming to your first, semi-private session and John is here, you and John don't have to do the same workout. John might have had like the worst day of his life and he's just really going easy and just and you might feel awesome, and that's what's kind of unique. But a first session for a lot of people is exposing them to breathing, some other like sort of helping them understand, like not just shutting off, like, oh, I'm just going to block it out and go, but like welcoming in, like, okay, how are you feeling? What's your breath like? What's your body feeling like? And just kind of getting people used to that type of approach to the session.
Yeah. So they're here and they're doing all this stuff with you guys, but I also see a lot of like special events that go on around here. So can you take me through maybe a couple of those, and then like why those are important to kind of keep pushing not only the people that are here, but introducing other people to like what you guys do here, and then for yourselves as well, because I'm sure you have to be able to practice what you preach, I guess, to a certain degree. So take me through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a line that some famous person said that you can only lead somebody so far as you've gone before, and we experiment with these experiences that involve the body. To call them a workout doesn't do them justice, but we certainly use our body. We actually, and so the intention with those special events are to have involved experiences that provide someone a challenge to face themselves, and that doesn't always mean like beat themselves up, but perhaps break through some of those stuck points, break through some of those limiting beliefs, and kind of improve clarity and access to that whispering within them that like, hey, I think I'm a bit more capable, or now like I know I am blah, 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 like whatever it might be for that person. And so we have a couple events. We have something called the Sisyphus Gauntlet, which, the myth of Sisyphus is where he basically gets this Greek mythology. Zeus gets pissed off at him, and he sends him to Hades in the underworld, and he pushes this boulder up a mountain, and right when he gets to the top, the boulder falls back down to the beginning. He does that forever. And
selling it.
Really selling it.
Sounds great. Tell me more, Bill.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing with Between the Ears too. Like, if you're interested in easy, keep looking.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be. It's just not going to be for you, and that's fine. And that's not to say
it's approachable for everybody,
Sure.
but it's the idea is there's going to be a challenge.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not easy. Like,
there's a hill in the back, and you have a boulder, and you just
roll
start
it out
going.
there,
and it's this wonderful thing.
But that one is. People do it worldwide.
Okay.
It's not, you need a few very simple pieces of equipment, so we have a lot of people not geographically based. It's online.
Yeah, and there's 4 1-hour workouts that you're just doing one thing for the whole hour. And a lot of people are like, that's boring. I don't want to do that. Okay. then don't.
Yeah.
Then don't do it, But if you also want to challenge yourself, maybe you should look at the stuff you don't want to do a bit more and I don't know, roll the dice on yourself.
Sure.
And that one, there's a mindset that accompanies each one for people to consider, and there's some coaching involved. So people can just do the workouts, that's fine. People can do individual coaching, people can do group coaching. So there's sort of like actually extracting on a deeper level than maybe what's going on here every day. Like, let's really dig into like what came up for you in those. So that's cool. We have one version and a second version that's coming out. But
and
so
then we have an
that's,
online course which is similar, but it's 12 kind of lessons that provide you a mindset tool to use. And there's a workout that is the physical kind of manifestation of this mental model. And why we do that is because it's like the name of the workout, or the name of the mindset rather, is simply like a trigger and a cue to get back into this experience that you had and apply that to whatever other experience, whatever challenge you're facing, kind of in your life, well past it. And so that's been a pretty powerful, that's been a life-changing course for...
It's called the Breakthrough.
Yeah, the Breakthrough program. That's been a life-changing course for a lot of people. And, the stuff that they're picking up on, the stuff that they're applying and what they're doing in their life after, it's powerful, and it's so different for each person.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, everybody comes out like, we're not making clones and pawns and mass produce this thing. When I was in special forces, we had a thing that special operations cannot be mass produced, and that the benefit of each individual is that they bring something unique to the organization, to the team, to whatever. And it's not just this huge scale, everything looks and sounds and feels the same.
Right.
And that's really one of the kernels of Between the Ears, is bringing out and honoring the individuality and the uniqueness of whatever that person is dealing with in life and whatever their story was, and however and whoever they want to be moving forward.
Yeah.
And there is an element, though, that's really important, is the connection piece. So here we do some personal training, but mostly it's semi-private, meaning there's 3 to 5 people at a time, because we know that, like, even at the fitness level, that little bit of connection with other people is important.
Yeah.
And certainly in these kinds of groups, when other people are all, okay, these 4 days, everyone's going to be doing this workout, we're going to all get on a call. I mean, it was huge during the pandemic. He gave that away to a lot of people as a help, and just getting on calls and sharing experience and having these events where everybody's having their own experience, but sharing it is a huge part of it. So
yeah. So we're going a little bit longer, but I do want to make sure that we talk about this in this segment before we take our second break. So we were mentioning off mic, because you had just mentioned before, kind of like pushing yourself beyond different your own limitations to try to like lead people. So and off mic, before we even got started, we were talking about like this psychedelic journey that you took. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, I was fortunate to participate in a psychedelic healing retreat through an organization called Vets. They do work with special operations veterans who are struggling, who are looking to improve their life and use plant medicine to do that. And so, when I got out of the military, it was a rough few years for sure. And there was certainly stuff that challenged me deeply that occurred before the military.
Right.
And so, in pursuit of my own healing, and certainly being blessed to have my wife advocate for me, I undertook a psychedelic journey, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done, also.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What made it so hard?
It's tough to even describe. So one of the compounds I took was called 5-MeO-DMT, otherwise known as the toad. Mike Tyson kind of talks about it.
Okay.
And it is...
So it's good.
Yeah. It's like the most powerful psychedelic we know of. And it's an experience that words simply cannot touch. And it shows, I was in hell, I was in heaven, I died.
It shows
Yeah.
you what you need. And it's similar, as we're saying, like on the individual basis. Of course, we're not giving people psychedelics here, but off mic, we were talking about, it's a very similar thing where that medicine provides each person what they need. And that's kind of that's amazing. And that's in many ways sort of what we try to aspire to. And that's where it's everything and it's nothing.
Right. Yeah. And that's really cool. Because I was listening to another podcast and like they were talking about it, and like it was similar to like what you were just describing. Like the guy, he was a comedian and he was trying to describe like his experience, and it was like hard for him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, the first night was like terrible, and the next 2 nights were amazing. You know, but it just kind of like got his mind back, because he was like an alcoholic and whatever, and kind of like going down the right road from there.
There's a lot of, that's a whole other thing, but incredible research. But that's one of the things, it's called being ineffable, like being unable to put words to it. But yeah, really incredible and certainly life-changing. And I think still continuing after 6 months to feel and have the difference. So
Awesome. All right, so let's take our second break.
Yep.
We went a little bit longer, but that's okay, because I did want to make sure we got all that stuff in. So this is the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Hamm. We're here at Between the Ears with Karianne and Bill Anthes in Far Hills, New Jersey. We'll be right back. Hey there, Mike Hamm again. Thanks so much for supporting the show. If you enjoy what you hear and want to help us keep the show going, head to buymeacoffee.com/gardenstate. A $5 donation to the show goes a long way helping us travel around the Garden State, bringing you the best of what New Jersey has to offer. Again, that's buymeacoffee.com/gardenstate. Now let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back for our third and final segment of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm Mike Hamm. We're here at Between the Ears in Far Hills, New Jersey with Karianne and Bill Anthes. So first segment, we learned background stuff, broad strokes background, kind of how this came to be. Second segment, we learned all about kind of what happens here and underneath the entire Between the Ears brand. But now we're in our third and final segment, which was my personal favorite, because it just kind of ties in what this show is trying to be all about, is our community segment. So I think one of the cool things that we can kind of do is, because we were talking about like the psychedelic retreat that you were on, and kind of the reason behind that. What was the reason behind that? Like it's called vets, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine it's not for animal doctors; it's for veterans.
VETS stands for Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions.
Okay.
And one of the challenges that people face, but certainly the veteran community faces, are treatments for mental health as well as physiological health too, to include like brain health. That's a big one, because the body and the mind they're the same thing.
Right.
A lot of what's readily available or offered through the VA or even private insurance does not produce the kind of effects that many in the veteran population need. And so the treatment solution component to their name, VETS, is plant medicine, combined with coaching and therapy, breath work and integration practices and whatnot. So, that's what led me to it. I did a lot of work, therapy, personal work, all of that stuff, physical, like nutrition, all of that stuff. But there just was a limit to the access that I was able to experience. And we had a couple friends, one friend in particular, go through it and say, I think you need to look into this. And, I open mind and student and curious, and had been following the psychedelic movement in mental health for past few years. Yeah. And just was always kind of curious about it, but never knew anything. I never really did any drugs growing up. And so, that was sort of the reason for doing it.
Right. And because, I know that you guys are supportive and active in the veteran community. Yeah. So can you take me through like maybe some of the stuff that you're doing for them?
Sure. So we, recently, a little bit earlier in the year, a few weeks after I got back from the retreat, we did the David Goggins 4x4x48 challenge that a nonprofit Warrior Angels Foundation put on. They brought in the leaders really in the psychedelic healing space and brain health healing space to their ranch outside of Houston, Texas. And we camped, we we didn't eat, we fasted, and we ran 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours in the sort of fundraising arm to raise a bunch of money. So we raised, over, I don't know, I think it was like $13,000 or $15,000 for vets. Last summer, when the pullout of Afghanistan was going on, that was certainly a challenging thing to watch. And so I actually used the Sisyphus Gauntlet as another fundraising effort to support two particular nonprofits. One, the Green Beret Foundation. Two, No One Left Behind, which secured SIV visas for our Afghan brothers and sisters, mostly brothers though, because of the, just that whole thing,
right?
Who served, certainly with our forces, and we wouldn't have been able to do anything without them. So a lot of translators and interpreters and whatnot. So we raised a few $1,000 for them.
And then our very close friend, she lost her husband to suicide, also a veteran, Navy SEAL. She started a foundation, the Step Up Foundation. Actually, at Morristown, we've done that workout. There's a workout involved, Chad. That was her husband's name. So she's been working full-time on that. So we're involved with the Navy SEAL Foundation, doing a swim this year, and raised some money for the Navy SEAL Foundation, but certainly working to help her organization. And all of it's obviously tied into the veteran mental health space.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So kind of getting off that, and I think that's all amazing, but getting off that a little bit and kind of talking about the community here at Between the Ears. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to know, because I'm a member at Motown,
right,
and it's sometimes easy to be part of a community when you're all doing the same shitty workout. It's right, solidarity in the shit, So I think that's something that can be said. But if people are doing kind of the semi-private stuff, and we kind of touched on it a little bit over the course of the episode about how you maintain those connections with your clients and patrons here, I guess. Yeah. But take me through maybe the relationship between you guys and the community that you have here at Between the Ears.
It's a partnership. It really is. It's a collaborative partnership. And even though the model is, kind of semi-private, and the fact that the way our semi-private sessions run is that you might be doing a workout, push-ups and sit-ups. I might be riding on the bike and Kay might be pushing a sled. Just because we're doing different things, those are very, very small details.
Right.
We're still in the same space and time, honoring what we need and pursuing what we need as well. So there's an incredibly tight community feel here, because there's also there's a safety component to what we do here, because it's not just show up and do whatever you got to do and leave. It's not a headphones in, eyes down kind of gym, nor is it everybody's forced to do the same thing. And so the safety component is people can be who they are, who they need to be on a given day. And that might be, using the skier to just get some anger and some aggression out, and it might be using the bike and your upper body to get a little bit of just nice pump and just flow and whatever it might be. So the community part here, fitness is secondary to the relationships that we build with people, and in having the relationship be really actually the priority, we can have some really cool fitness adaptations too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you had something else.
Yeah, just an agreement. Yeah, and I think that safety piece, just someone might need to just, not to say this doesn't happen elsewhere, but someone might need to just journal or say start a workout and be this isn't for me today. Or we might send someone down the street to the park and be maybe you just need to go outside and take a walk, or change the workout or stop the workout. And unfortunately, and again, it's nobody's fault or whatever, but that's really hard. That when the environment, that's not the norm in the environment, it can be really hard for people to, pull back or stop. I have owned, we were in Morristown for 14 years. Probably only I can count on one hand how many times someone actually stopped to work out. It just doesn't,
yeah.
It's a lot harder because that's the environment.
Where I wanted to stop.
Yeah, well, right.
I'm going to die.
Yes, that is daily.
And that's the other thing with what Kay's saying too that's important, because there's other times where, and I had a kid yesterday in a session, incredible young man, ambitious goals, and he was like, I'm done. I'm like, you're fucking not done. And I know that you're not done.
Right.
Right.
I'll give you a minute, but you're going to get back on the bike. So there's plenty of time because we know we're able to have truly an individual experience and guide them. And people do trust us. So we'll call audibles sometimes on people where it's like, I think you're lying to yourself right now. And if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
As the saying
Great
goes.
quote. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Right. And so fitness is kind of one of those things. And unfortunately, coaches and trainers, it's like just only pushing. Well, sometimes you need to pull a little bit as well. And we are able to build that relationship, to check in with people. It's also a reason why we ask people like, hey, how you feeling? How you doing?
Yeah.
Everybody knows, okay, a feeling is an impermanent state. A mood is a temporary kind of climate of your state. Your goals are more important and all of that. But by being honest and encouraging people to have that honesty and that buy-in and that accountability, we can have a much more self-empowered approach with our folks where if we say, like, get the fuck back on the sled or get on the bike, like, let's go. You're here to work. Right. You're here to work. All signals are saying go, as well as saying when somebody comes in, they're breathing a sigh of, it's like, what are you doing here? What would be great? I just need to go for a walk, clear my head. Then don't come in here. Go up to the park. I've told this to people. I've sent people up the street in the park. Then just go for a walk.
Yeah.
And they'll text back being like, that was the best thing for me.
Right.
The thought of being on a piece of cardio, like this is really cool equipment, and we have some awesome technology in here. But I heard someone, Ido Portal, talk about the more we rely on high-tech stuff, the lower tech we are.
Right.
And it's very, very similar. And so the higher technology of someone and who they are is not limited and constrained just to like badass rogue equipment or gym equipment. Yeah. There's a whole world out there that can provide you what you need. And, we try to encourage people to step into that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I love that. And I think, like you were saying before, like community is basically predicated on trust. Yeah. And having that trust with your clients is really important, especially doing the types of stuff that you guys are doing and knowing when to push and knowing when to kind of, pull it back a little bit. Yeah. Because, not everyone knows, but that's why they're here. It's like literally the name. Mindset stuff. Yeah. So if people want to learn more about what you guys do, where are some places they can go to do that?
We have a website, betweentheearsfitness.com.
No, betweentheears.com.
Oh, sorry, betweentheears.com.
Oh, boy. This is like when we were trying to figure out what road Motown was on.
Oh, yeah, we didn't know.
We had no idea.
I didn't know the address.
We knew it was Dumont, but we didn't know if it was like street, place, way, court.
Yeah, and there's actually Dumont here, which is really weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Eerie.
Betweentheears.com. Between the Ears Fitness is on our Instagram. Yeah. Between the Ears on Instagram. Bill Anthes, Karianne Anthes. That's kind of it.
Place.
Cool.
Well, yeah.
Plenty of places.
Right. And then if people want to, if they're curious, they listen to this episode and they're like, that might be something for me. They can just call.
Yeah, there's a contact form. There's a phone number. Yeah. It's pretty, these days, like there's many ways to
Google,
reach out. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No shortage of ways.
Awesome. Well, this was really cool.
Thanks,
because it's just like a whole other, like I get to know you better, which was a lot of fun. Like we know each other,
You have to come in and experience.
Yeah, now you got to get a shirt and get on the sled.
I know. Like right now?
No,
I don't
maybe
know if
not.
I can handle that right
Speaking
now.
of like states, maybe get a little sleep, get a coffee, and
some sleep would be great at some point this week. But awesome. So I'll make sure that I put the website, the social handles, all that stuff in the show notes, and then along with greetingsfromtheGardenState.com, which is the website for the show, so you can check out this and all of our other episodes that we've posted over the last. Going on probably like 10 months now. Maybe even when this posts, like 11 months, because this will probably post in September.
Cool.
1 year party coming up.
Yeah, 1 year party coming up. We'll be there pushing sleds and carrying med balls around Morristown at 11 o'clock at night.
There we go.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, the party will start at 2 in the morning.
Wear your khakis.
Bring some water bottles.
Awesome. So, again, this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Ham. We were here today with Karianne and Bill Anthes at Between the Ears in Far Hills, New Jersey. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks.
Crowd of lights on me.